You read that it fell. Ignore my glitter packaging. I come packing crafting. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me here on SewStitchHex. I'm Academia, and today I'm going to be doing a review of Volume 1 of The Summer Hikaru Died by Mokumokuren. It is a kind of horror. It focuses on horror and grief. And this is a boy love, which I don't typically read, but this has been on my list because it looks awesome. All right. The back says, it has Hikaru's face. It has Hikaru's voice. It even has Hikaru's memories. But whatever came down from the mountain 6 months ago isn't Yoshiki's best friend. Whatever it is, it's dangerous. Carrying on at school and hanging out as if nothing has changed, as if Hikaru isn't gone, would be crazy. But when it looks so like Hikaru and acts so very like Hikaru. So it's a spooky creature, and this is Yoshiki. He's so sad. And he looks so sad. He looks so, like, distraught. It's so sad. Okay. So basically, you have this story where it starts off with this guy coming down, or technically it starts off with him hanging out, and it has a couple of colored pages at the front that I really like. Part of me really hates that all of these, they get, well, that one's not colored, but it's still glossy, but, like, goes into the style. Really hate that these have, like, the beautiful full color pages at the front, and it's always just the cutest little mundane things, and I hate it because it makes me want more. And I'm like, this is so good. The style is awesome. Like, it is super spooky. And there's always sound going on. So it really sets the atmosphere of the book. The sound of the cicadas. So it's during summertime. So it's spooky season. And then you constantly have other sounds going on, like the road. You get to see the rain. And it's just the sounds are always constant, and I think part of that plays into the stress that Yoshiki has and the kind of deep sadness that just makes him so overly aware of the sounds, but it also really sets the page for us and really makes it kind of eerie. So I really like that part of this style. I'm recording this right when it comes out, but when this gets edited and actually uploaded, because I'm scheduling my uploads, nobody knows. But I'm just telling you now, and I love these bangs, but they are so aggravating too. I wanted to curl them, but I don't know how to curl the synthetic without messing it up. Anyway, continuing. It starts off with them getting ice cream, and they're like, not really a lot of choices because they're out of all but like one kind. They're like, what is this? So they're eating, they're talking, and he's like, oh yeah, they're very southern. It said online that they're in rural Japan. At first I was like, is this Okinawa? Because there's that whole thing where they always make Okinawa sound like country bumpkins, which I think is kind of funny. And that's why I'm going to do the next book that I'm going to do after this in the same outfit, because I like that. But, and it's relatable. So they talk like, listen, this ain't something that came to me just now. To me, not to me, T-A. It's been on my mind ever since you went missing and came back, so I've been wondering about it for a while. You ain't the real Hikaru, are you? And he looks at him, and he's like, huh? Why? And this is, like, it happens immediately. This is, like, maybe 5 or 6 pages in at the most. And he's like, I'm supposed to be a perfect copy of him. Not him. And he starts freaking out because this guy's face starts melting. And he's like, please, don't tell anyone, and he hugs him. And he's like, this is the first time I've lived as a human. School, friends, ice cream, I'm enjoying all of them for the first time ever. I may be borrowing this body and personality, but my feelings for you are real. So please, I don't want to kill you. And he's hugging him, like, uncomfortably tight. So basically, he's called out that he's not the real him. And he's like, at any rate, Hikaru's not around anymore. If that's how it is, then I want you to be by my side, even if you are fake. Okay, Hikaru. Nice to meet ya. And so basically, he's going through the stress of knowing that his friend is dead. The The Hikaru, not Hikaru, confirms he died. He's dead. He is not in the living. And he's just taking over his body. He said it was completely cold. He was breathing his last when I took his body. So it gives me kind of a Skinwalker vibe, but not quite Skinwalker. So that's kind of interesting. We get to see a lot of the grief going on. And they don't really do a lot. They go to school, they watch a movie, and it's a movie he's seen 100 times, but he still gets very emotional watching it. He has some kind of marital problem going on. It sounds like a dick of a husband, quite frankly. Because the husband's like, I could leave you for any woman I wanted, and you're worthless of a woman. And I'm like, you're a bitch. I'd leave you. Like, no. But whatever it is, it made him very emotional. Whatever this movie is, everyone else in the class was sleeping. So it's probably like just like a movie day and nothing crazy going on. And then they go out and they get cutlets. And it's like, it looks like our Chainsaw Man that we love. Or at least I do. He's so funny. But he looks like that. And he's just super expressive, which is a really cute detail that I like. When he shows us, you can see right here. If it'll focus, which I doubt it will. I'll post this picture of it on the screen right here. Yeah. So you can see that it says cut lit in his irises. And his tongue says fried cutlet, which is just kind of really hilarious. And in the back in the notes, they talk about the cutlet, which I think is great. It's just really funny. It really shows his dedication to this item. It's supposed to be like his #1 fave, which they list. And they talk about a lot of things. So they talk about like what happened, why did this happen, and he's like talking about all these different things. They just pick at him. Just being friendly. It's very cute. It's hard, and it is sad because he's just like attaching to this person that isn't really his friend, but is like a monster that took over his friend, but the monster just wants a friend. So it's also like really sad for the creature, but it's also a dark entity. You don't know what its plan is or if it's just pulling his leg or whatever. And just to show more of that stress and how it kind of eats him. Those are all his thoughts going around. Some of them say things like, just what the heck is that thing? Hikaru. Creepy, get away, it's so creepy, this is so gross, he's already dead. And he's crying because, see, we found out pretty early. I have my suspicions, but I don't like to immediately, unless it's a romance genre, I don't like to impose my impression of if they're in a relationship or if they are or not. Because it's boy love, I had a suspicion, and then they did make it pretty clear. They've been the same age, so they grew up together, and so all they've ever known. And Yoshiki really does love Hikaru. And Hikaru apparently did have feelings for Yoshiki, which I think is great. It's like two besties and they happen to both be gay. Like, that is even better. Because you can love your bestie. That doesn't mean they're gay. So I was very happy about that. Because it's boy love. So, like, obviously. But, I mean, realistically, how often is that going to happen in the country? I don't know. I was so happy. They were so cute. They were so cute because it shows some of his memories constantly. He has dreams about him when he was him. And it's just kind of really depressing. Knowing that he knows that this isn't him. But he's like, I don't care if it's not you. I'd just be happy with you anyway. But then another moment, he's like, I don't want you. And at the very end, they have this big fight about it. Because he did just say, like, if you tell anyone, I'm going to kill you. And it ends like that, where he's like, he flips out on him. Because he's saying, like, I don't want to be near you because you're not him. And gets very dramatic. But basically, they just do typical kid things. They're hanging out. The one kid's super anxious about going on a walk through the woods. And so he, like, incorporates all of the friend group. And that one girl that looks like the pink girl from My Hero Academia. Like, does she not? And she's, like, almost as tall as Yoshiki. Yoshiki's the tallest, and I think that's cool. But she's, like, definitely got to be the strongest. Like, wow. It's impressive. They go on this trip through the woods, and they're just talking about all the spooky stuff that's been happening lately. Like, of course, we know, like, 6 months prior to the book, our main guy, Hikaru, went into the woods for an unknown reason, and he came back out, not him, and dead. Nobody really knows, which tells you how much people really pay attention to you, which is kind of sad, but we already kind of knew that. they're talking about like this lady that saw him and was freaking out and she was tweaking, but she had a reason because she probably could sense that he wasn't right and she was freaking out about it. And so, something, we're not quite sure, but something spooky went in and made her choke on her own hand, which is really dark. I kind of wish they would have showed that part. That would have been awesome. Maybe in an anime. Wink, wink, because this will be awesome as an anime. It's ongoing, and there's only like 3 current, but the second one for in English doesn't come out until... I'm going to keep messing with these bangs. Oh! Didn't come out until October. But so they go to the woods, and with Hikaru there, he's able to keep them safe because there is something in the woods, and it looks like that creepy lady with the long neck and a lot of hair, but it sees him, and apparently when you look at it, then it sticks to you, kind of. It's like spiritually, it's like, I'm gonna get you. And he jumps at it and absorbs it, and like, it's super kind of wild. We don't really know what happened, but it was this weird pop sound, and absorbing it caused him to get like a bloody nose. And they all kind of talk about it. Later, when that happens, he kind of has like this super intimate moment where he's like, I only want you to look at me. And I'm like, that's super possessive, but also really cute. And I know that Yoshiki is conflicted on it because he's like, that's weird. What the heck? You're super weird. But also like low key, like, So it's kind of funny. And also it's still tragic, but you still have to see the light in it all. Later they meet, and this is, of course, when I was talking about this manga and how I'd been wanting to read it, the first page I opened to is the most awkward page you can open to when you're telling someone who has no idea what you're reading. It was them in in your typical, like, sports room where they would keep all the sports equipment. And they're like this. And the page I opened to, not when he just got hit in the face with a ball, but it was this part, which he's like, opening his shirt, buttoning down. He's like, this feels sort of pervy. What kind of situation is this? He's like, what the heck? I don't know what's going on. And he wanted to show him that he has this big gaping hole in his chest. And he convinces him to stick his hand in. And he does this really shitty thing where he tries pulling him in a little bit. And it scares him. And apparently it feels like marinated... raw chicken covered in marinade, which is a weird description. But he pulls him in and has him move his hand up, which causes it to split more, kind of like a Blade movie. Super wild, because he's starting to split. But then he gets really kind of, I wouldn't say turned on by it, but he says it feels good, like patting on the head, and he's never had that physical experience. Like, he may have the memories of Hikaru, but he's never experienced these things, just like we saw when he watched the movie for the first time, and he just bursts into tears. It's just like that here. But it's super weird. He starts sucking him in a little bit. And he's like, I'm being pulled in. And he jerks back. So we see his little neck thing going back together. And he's completely clean. Like, he's not covered in goo. But we really want to think he's covered in goo, like the inside cover, which feels very Junji Ito, the way they do the cover. And I love that. Like, baller. But he's like, that scare you? Come on, it ain't dirty or anything. He's like, he did that just to be a douche. He did that to pick at him. And I'm like, that's hilarious. But also, you're scaring him legitimately. And that's just really mean. But also, that was really funny. So, like, really mean, but really funny. And he's like, sitting there with his shirt open, standing between his legs, super awkward, like, what are we looking at? And he's like, oh, my shirt. I'll give you a show that'll get your nose bleeding. Just fooling. And he looks away, super embarrassed, because remember, he really does love, or is in deep like, probably, Hikaru, but this isn't Hikaru, so he's very conflicted, because he's like, this is what I've wanted, but why couldn't you have done this, like, 6 months ago when it was you? But now it's just this monster piloting your memories, trying to experience life, which on one hand, monsters can be sad too, and they want to experience life, but also this is very emotionally manipulative and very dark, so it's kind of spooky and sad. And he's like, huh, what's wrong? He says with a blush. And then this guy, like, pops him once, and he's like, so you don't like that? And he pets him on the head, like something he had just talked about, like, He's like, hurry and get your clothes back on. You some kind of barbarian or something? And he's like, maybe. And then they both laugh nervously. And then He has to go to the store for his sister, random stuff. He meets this lady that's got some kind of like magical sense. She's just a regular housewife, that's what she says, but I'm waiting to see if there's more to that. But she's like, that thing is dark. She confronts him when he's getting on his bike. She's like, I know you must be wondering what this random housewife is going on about. Well, you're close to something incredibly dangerous. Don't tell me you can't sense that. You gotta get away right this instant. If you keep this up, you'll mix. And I was so confused. I was like, the fuck is mix? That's super weird slang here. I don't know what's going on. But she says, like, she assumed it was, like, his girlfriend or something, which I'm like, assumptions. And, like, logically, you would think it would be his girlfriend, but no, it's his guy friend. So can they still mix? Because, like, they can't produce. But then again, this is a monster creation that can kind of skim walk into people. So you gotta wonder, like, can he just form a womb and they just copulate? Because that is a whole genre that I didn't know existed and didn't want to know existed, but found out through Amazon. No thanks. I didn't want to, I don't really want to think about the science of that. That sounds terrifying, but with this creature, they can really change into anything, I would think, or they could take over the body of anything. They seem to be like on almost an eldritch horror mass. So, like, they might be able to. I don't really know how that works. I'm sure we'll find out. But also, they have your typical, like, gossipy, knows everybody, wants to know everything, store lady. And I just wanted to point out, she just, like, info dumped about everyone, talked about some great exposition for us, quite frankly, because apparently his family has problems and they'd be fighting into the night and everyone can hear it. And I'm like, well, yeah, the walls are papered. Papered then, you know. Okay. But yeah, so then he shows up to hang out with his friend and they just chit chat. And there's like this cute moment from when they were younger where like they would eat watermelon and he was talking about turning into a watermelon man if you accidentally eat too many seeds and they would die. And when they were little, they were bawling their eyes out, nibbling on their watermelon, and it wasn't even good anymore because they were so scared because they accidentally ate the seeds and they're going to turn into a watermelon man and die. And that's super terrifying. But these are all just memories from when it was him. And he was like, what even is that face? He was just so weird. And I like him. He was great. But they're talking, and he's kind of spooky because he shows him he's got a new technique, and he eats the watermelon in 3 big chomps. It's kind of terrifying, but it's very Chainsaw Man, so I thought that was cool. He meets up, and he's like the most shady person. Like, I know he's dressed like typical, like, guy, but even his friend was like, you look like an old video game character. And here he's wearing like a hat, and I guess it's because he's doing some shady stuff, I guess, in his friend's eyes, or what would be his friend, because he talked about everything with his friend. But now he's talking to that housewife lady who's like, whatever it is that's become your friend is having an effect on things. It feels like a huge mass of something, like hell itself. As soon as I felt its presence disappear from the mountains, the distortion in this area suddenly grew larger. This is just a guess, but it might have been what was keeping the distortion contained in the mountains all that time. That's how huge that thing is. There's that unnatural death that happened not long ago in Kubitachi. Not that long ago in Kubitachi, to consider as well. There's something terribly eerie about that, too. I feel like it's related. To be honest, it's also scary. It makes me want to leave this town, but my mother-in-law and daughter are here. My oldest son left this place long ago, though. So, before you said we. She has experienced a similar creation. It was her late husband. He came back once, a long time ago, but it didn't work out. In the end, he left my son with a scar on his body that will never heal for the rest of his life. It doesn't matter what he was. I just wanted to be with him. Some part of you must know it too, that you can't keep being with your friend like this. And it's just so dramatic and so sad because he didn't even get to confess to him. And now he can't even be with him because he doesn't exist, but he's kind of exists, but not really. Yeah, but what am I supposed to do about it? I'm sorry, I don't want you to end up like me, and I figured you ought to know, so you can move forward. And they're like, here's your order, one America, or America Mega Deluxe Mountain President. They're at an American diner, which I think is kind of hilarious, out in the middle of this small town. in the rural area. But, I mean, I love that they have so many parfaits, because I've never been to an American restaurant that has that many parfaits, if one at all. So I know that it's supposed to be American themed. I just find it hilarious to me. So he goes and he has like a big confrontation with him, and he's like, I know it ain't right, but I still like you, and I can't stop my feelings. And then he becomes vomits his own, inner flesh. And it's super spooky, and it's just very dramatic, because he's like, Dad, you can't keep being with your friend like this. You need to move forward. And he keeps having these words just cycling around him, and it's just lots to show us that he's going through a lot, mentally, because he's processing the grief of his friend, but he's also processing the fact that he has his friend, but he doesn't, because his friend's not really there. And then it has this adorable bonus story when they're talking about cutting his hair, and how his buddy definitely tried to cut his hair before, but failed at it. And he had to have short hair, which he hated, because he likes having the curtains to cover his face, which is yeah, I get that. I did that for a while when I was in high school, but now I need to be able to see, which is why I'm struggling with these bangs, but they are very appropriate. And he's like, oh, I know what to do. So he brings to school 2 cute little kitty barrettes that look like this cat, which they encounter the cat in the manga, but the cat flips out on Hikaru, and Hikaru's just like, I guess it was me. And Yoshiki's like, I have never seen that cat badmouth somebody like that. Holy cow, that cat was mad. Wow, this must be a really bad dude, because I've never seen the cat get that upset. Well, he ends up sticking one of them on the back of Hikaru's hair, and it's so cute. He goes around all day and sends him a text later, I found this. Had this thing on all day and even went to club with it. Don't make me cuter than I already am. And he's just all blushy, and he's like, oh, so he left it on this whole time. And he's telling him he's got to wear it. And then his sister walks in to see him wear it. It gives me very much if Soichi from Junji Ito stories was a likable character. It just looks so cute with it. And his sister's like, are you going to give me that? And he's like, no. And it's just really cute. It also gives us a flash into the next episode. How spooky and ominous. So as a horror, I think it's really good. It's got all the elements that I like to make it spooky. And it's very emotion based and very dramatic, very grief oriented, which I find to be very important. And it shows how much this darkness is affecting him, but not in the way that he's afraid for his life technically. I mean, he is, but he's not. He's more the real torture is coming from his grief of his friend and being surrounded by what he knows is the dead body of his friend animated by some creature. And I find it really good. This is really good. I'm very excited for the second one. I am on the pre-order for it. And like I said, I'm recording this when it just came out, but who knows when it'll be public, so we'll see. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've read this one, please let me know in the comments below. If you hadn't, do you think you will? And just give me your thoughts down below. I will have a link in the description if you want to get it. And if you didn't, I told you basically everything that happened. Save the minor things that are really cool. Visually, I absolutely love this, and I highly recommend. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wicked evening, and I will see you here next time on SewStitchHex. Bye!